Hey, happy Friday. It's September 12th, 2025. I've got 4 immigration stories for you today, stuff that actually affects people trying to study, travel, work, or keep their families together. If you care about visas, flights, or how governments handle migration, stick with me for a few minutes. First up, a story out of Bengaluru that I found kind of wild. A young man went to get an F1 student visa for the US and says the officer denied him because he seemed too successful. I know, it sounds backwards. You'd think being accomplished would help. There isn't a rule anywhere that says success is a reason to refuse a student visa, but consular officers do look for whether someone is likely to return home after their studies. If you show strong assets, a clear career path, or ties that suggest you'll stay, that can actually raise questions about your intent to go back. The bigger picture here is that denials are getting more common, roughly a 41% denial rate in 2023-24, up from about 36% in 2023. So even really impressive students are facing tougher checks. For anyone planning to study in the US, it's frustrating because all of that hard work and good credentials don't guarantee a smooth visa. It's a reminder to prepare paperwork that clearly shows your plans and ties back home, and to be ready to explain why you'll return after studying. Switching gears to something lighter, but still travel-related, Etihad Airways just hit a record. In August 2025, they carried 2 million passengers, the first time they topped that mark in a single month. That's a 22% jump from last year, a 91% load factor, and Etihad now has a fleet of 112 planes serving 81 destinations. What that tells me is demand for travel in the region is booming, and airlines are expanding to meet it. For travelers, that usually means more choices and possibly better deals, but it also means busier airports and fuller flights. If you've got plans to fly to or through the Middle East, expect it to be a lot busier, and for airlines to keep adding routes. Now to heavier news. A deportation flight landed in Cap Haitian, Haiti, carrying 132 people, including 6 children. This is part of a big push after the U.S. ended temporary protected status for Haitians on August 3, 2025. Deportations started around September 2nd, and this flight is one of the first large removals we're seeing. The decision back in June affects more than 500,000 people who had TPS since the 2010 earthquake, so this isn't a small policy shift, it's huge. For families, this is devastating. People who rebuilt lives here in the U.S. are being sent back, sometimes with little notice, and communities in Haiti have to absorb people returning to a country that's had serious instability. This is one of those stories where policy headlines turn into real family breakups and uncertainty on the ground. Finally, there's a story that's sparking diplomatic friction. More than 300 South Korean workers were detained in a big U.S. immigration raid at a battery factory being built in Georgia. Out of about 330 people detained, 316 were sent back to Korea on a Korean air charter flight that landed in Seoul. That has caused a lot of anger back in South Korea. People are worried about how multinational workers are being treated, and what this means for cooperation on big projects that rely on foreign expertise. It raises questions about how companies hire foreign labor for big industrial builds, and how governments handle visas and inspections. When hundreds of people are rounded up like that, it impacts not only the workers and their families, but also business relationships and trust between countries. Putting these stories side by side, a few things jump out to me. 1. Movement around the world is huge right now. People flying in record numbers, companies moving projects across borders. But that movement is bumping up against stricter enforcement and tighter rules. 2. The human cost is real. Whether it's a student who loses a chance to study, families being deported, or workers suddenly sent home. And 3, these are not isolated issues. Travel demand, immigration policy, and international labor all intersect in ways that affect real lives. Alright, that's the roundup for this Friday. If you want the write-ups I used, I pulled these from Verge.com. They've got the details if you want to read deeper. Thanks for hanging out for a few minutes. Have a good weekend, and I'll catch you next time with more stories from the world of visas, travel, and migration.